This is as far as I feel comfortable going in doing videos in my workplace at school. It's 6:42, I'm already here getting some stuff ready. There's enough bureaucracy to get done. And I finally want to do a video again. I have been wondering so much about what videos would be appropriate to do, especially as a teacher, so that between my work life, my family life, caring for my kids, doing stuff for the household, and running my 3 priorities currently, 2 of which set themselves, and the third which I have set because of reasons for this year, for 2026. Yeah, there's not much time for anything else. And I have just had a cold for the last 1.5 weeks, right after a nice long run. So this has not helped either. This thing about doing videos about as a teacher has been particularly fascinating because all my videos, all of this topic or theme of micro-exploration that I want to advertise, to put it like this, has to do with education, so it fits in very nicely with my professional life as a teacher. And there are more reasons which I'll get into for why I think that actually being a teacher and being on YouTube and being online about content is a pretty good idea. But it's also problematic, and I found it especially problematic as a teacher to think of what to do, because we have rules for professional conduct which might actually not apply to us as strongly as they are commonly being put forward, because they originally were for public servants, and we are still certainly public figures after a certain fashion or profession, if you want to say it like that. But we are not public servant in the old legal definition anymore. And of course, we do have a private life, but then again, I can understand that as a teacher, you should have a private life that fits in with your professional life and isn't completely at odds with it. But whose is really at odds? Although, looking at Germany and Austria, there have been very peculiar issues, because I keep seeing videos, or when I looked into videos as a teacher, YouTube as a teacher, how good is that idea? I found that there are actually teachers nowadays who are influencers, who are content creators, and who do their videos, who create their videos in part while they are teaching, with, at the very least, the voices of their pupils being audible, if not even some of them being visible. Some apparently are being sponsored by companies for their school bag or whatever and presented in class with the students going, oh wow. And that appalls me. I would not want to do that. In fact, one of the issues I'm having is that there are very interesting personalities among my pupils. There are interesting statements, certainly interesting perspectives on things sometimes. I have found that I will use the example of how pupils have a tendency to say that, oh, what we learn in school is not really helpful for life and it's all so boring. That's actually something you can hear in the wider public as well, quite a bit. And I think there's quite a bit of a misunderstanding of schooling and education and learning behind it. So I will want to talk about this a bit more. And it is something that is in part motivated by teaching experiences. On the other hand, there are some statements which are interesting, which are noteworthy, which I do not actually want to talk about, although they are really fascinating. But at least my pupils and their parents and co-teachers, if I said certain of those statements, they would immediately know which particular pupils I'm talking about. And I don't want to bring that into public. On the other hand, doing a video in the empty classroom, I hope is not a big issue, because I could be in some other school, in some other place, I could green screen it. I could do this in a dozen different ways, and it does not matter that I do this at my workplace long before anybody else is here for working. And I've actually tried to motivate myself partly, I must admit, into this by thinking about it as something where we are at the same time missing something. You can hear a lot from teachers nowadays who have just quit and who will tell you about everything that goes horribly wrong. And it has been so helpful for me actually to hear some of that. It's very appalling oftentimes, but it turns out you can hear the same trouble nowadays from Austria, where I am, from Germany, from the UK, from the USA. Increasingly, young people seem to be quite similar everywhere. The issues that teachers are facing are very similar, and talking about it publicly is helpful. In my case, I'm quite okay. I wonder how I'm going to be next year, because then I will have a first grade middle school class to care for, to be the head teacher again. And this might get very hard. I might want to be a very strict teacher, because there are a lot of behavioral issues that we are seeing, and a lot of issues of pupils never having learned in elementary school, at home, how learning actually proceeds, and that learning is necessary, and that the discomfort you feel when learning is a good thing and a necessary thing, and you need to deal with it by getting through it and not avoiding it. There will be a lot to be done, and I'm not sure I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be hard. And then again, in my free time, I'm an ultra-marathon runner, and this year, 2026, in the summer, I'm going to go to a 100-mile race in the mountains 2 days after coming back from the family trip to China. So I think I like it hard anyways. I've had it hard enough with trying to follow some dreams, to not do a 9-to-5 job, but to work for myself. And I'm very glad I don't have to do that anymore, of try to convince people, convince an audience that what I have to offer is worth somehow supporting it, or that all of my videos are worth watching and sharing and subscribing. By the way, you're welcome to, of course. And having ads, suffering through ads so that I can make a few cents from YouTube. I don't really need that so much anymore, and I don't want to need it. I'm quite glad about my 9-to-5. The commute takes its while, but it's time I can sit at my laptop or at my smartphone and listen to a podcast or watch some YouTube or think about ideas for content that I want to write about, or just relax. And it's not bad in this regard. Sure, sometimes the money feels like it's too little for all that one suffers through, and teaching is still a tough pursuit. Now, where it's getting less professionalized in some respects, but demands more, it's even worse. But I think a teacher on YouTube, especially a teacher who teaches digital literacy, as I do and will continue to do apparently, is a good thing. I want to talk about things that I'm engaged with, that I have a passion for, that interest me, that show the value of learning, of exploring this world. And so I will continue with that and sit down to talk about the topics that I find interesting, that I have learned to be of interest and maybe important for life. And with this rambling, which is one of my problems because I tend to start rambling, let's see to it that I do more. We have a short day of teaching today for once, but then conferences and stuff to do where I will also be active, because I'm one of the more active and engaged teachers who do rather more also for the development of the school and the development of the teaching at this school than many. But let's see how it all goes. I also will have, as soon as I get back, I should take care of family, but I'm actually doing some online tests today for some certification in digital literacy actually. That should be easy enough, but still I need to sit down and be able to get this done also. Whew, it's all a lot. And then I'm trying to get back into the running. Oh, wow. But there are lessons in all of it, and I hope I can share some of it with you and motivate you to learn, to explore, to do something with your life. Because it's necessary, it's this one life you have. So you're going to die anyways, but maybe live a bit before that, and in ways that deal well with that paradox that we have when we try to live well and not just vegetate, not just exist because we happen to. And on this typically happy note, let's go.